Okay, think about it. Your company's data, it's literally everywhere. It's on laptops in coffee shops, phones in airports, tablets at home. So how in the world do you protect all of it without just locking everyone down? Well, the answer is an unseen bouncer, a super powerful security team-up that we're going to break down right now.
And that's the big question, right? When your office walls just vanish, your whole security perimeter has to shrink down to the size of every single device. You've got to have something that can look at any person trying to get in from anywhere and make a split-second call. Are you allowed in? That is the core challenge we're all facing. All right, here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to dig into why this is such a problem today. Then we'll meet our two key players, what I call the rulebook and the bouncer. We'll see how they team up, and then I'll leave you with the absolute must-know takeaways.
So let's start with an analogy to really get this. Imagine your company's data is like a super exclusive VIP club. Back in the day, there was one door, one bouncer. Simple enough. But now, in this boundaryless world, people want to get into the club from hundreds of different doors. Their personal phones, their home laptops, you name it. How do you possibly manage security for all those entrances at once? And this is where things get really interesting. See, some systems, they just report problems. They're kind of like a security guard who just jots down in a notebook, that person looks suspicious, but then still lets them walk right into the club. What we need is a system that actively stops them right at the door. And that, my friends, is a total game changer. Okay, so how do we actually decide who's allowed in? Well, first things first, we need a rulebook. Every exclusive club has one, right? A dress code, an age limit, a guest list. In our digital world, this rulebook is called a device compliance policy. It sets the absolute minimum security standard that every single device has to meet. To put it simply, this is a policy you build inside Microsoft Intune that spells out exactly what a healthy and trustworthy device looks like. It's the official list of rules, and before any device gets anywhere near company data, it has to prove that it's following every single one. So, what are we actually talking about here? What kind of rules are in this rulebook? Well, all the essentials. Things like, is the operating system up to date? Or is it riddled with security holes? Is the device itself encrypted? Does it even have a password? And here's the big one. Has the user jailbroken or rooted the device, basically tearing down all of its built-in security? These are the absolute non-negotiables. Okay, but what if a device breaks the rules? This is where the whole system gets really smart. It doesn't just slam the door in their face. First, it sends out a helpful automated email saying, hey, your device needs a little attention, and here's exactly how to fix it. It then marks the device as non-compliant, gives the user a bit of a grace period to sort it out, and only then, if the problem isn't fixed, does it block access. All right, so we've got this awesome rulebook. Fantastic, but a rulebook just sitting on a shelf doesn't do a whole lot, does it? You need someone standing at the door to actually enforce those rules. So let's meet our bouncer, Conditional Access. And you know what? The bouncer's logic is ridiculously simple. This entire incredibly powerful system boils down to just one idea. When this happens, then do this. It's really just a set of if-then statements that you get to create to protect your entire organization. So you can get really specific here. You can say things like, when a user tries to access the super sensitive HR system, then you must use multi-factor authentication. Or how about this? When someone tries to connect from a network we don't recognize, then grant them access, but only if their device is compliant with our rulebook. See? This is how you perfectly balance tight security with actually letting people get their work done. Okay, heads up. For anyone studying for an exam or, frankly, just building your first policy, listen up. This is critical. You can't create a rule without defining two things. You always have to specify who the policy applies to, so which users or groups, and what they're trying to get to, which cloud apps. Everything else adds context, but those two, they're absolutely mandatory. All right, we've met the players. We've got the rule book. That's our compliance policy. And we've got the bouncer. That's conditional access. Now let's see how this dream team actually works together seamlessly to protect your data in the real world. Whoa, okay. I know this looks like a lot, but trust me, it's pretty straightforward. Let's just walk through it step by step. It all starts when a user tries to check their email on their phone. Right away, the bouncer, that's conditional access, stops the request. It turns to the rulebook, that's Intune, and asks a simple question. Hey, do you know this device? And is it following the rules? Intune checks its list.
If the device is known and compliant, Intune gives a thumbs up. The bouncer lets them in, and the user gets their email. Simple. But if the device is unknown, or maybe it's breaking a rule, let's say it's jailbroken, Intune says nope. The bouncer then blocks access and tells the user exactly what they need to do to get their device secure before they can try again. It's this constant, automated conversation happening in milliseconds.
So now that we've got the big picture, let's zoom in on a few key details you absolutely need to remember. These are the specifics that will pop up on certification exams, and more importantly, in your day-to-day job. First up, the number 30. 30 days. By default, if a device doesn't check in with Intune for a full 30 days, it gets automatically marked as non-compliant. It's a safety net, really. If a device goes completely dark, we have to assume it's no longer secure.
Next number to remember, 72, as in 72 hours. This one's super specific. If you're using what's called enhanced jailbreak detection on iOS devices, that device must check in with Intune at least every 3 days to prove it hasn't been compromised. That is a classic exam-style question right there.
Okay, let's do a quick lightning round. A little cheat sheet for you. For licensing, you need Intune plus the premium P1 or P2 versions of Microsoft Entra ID. Super important safety feature. By default, any device that doesn't have a policy assigned to it is considered non-compliant. And finally, the tech protocol that makes all this mobile email syncing possible is called Exchange Active Sync, or EAS.
Look, if you walk away with just one thing from this explainer today, please let it be this. The compliance policy is your rulebook. It defines what safe even looks like. Conditional access is the bouncer. It stands at the door and enforces those rules. You simply cannot have effective, modern security without both of them working together.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. We've spent this whole time talking about the technology, the tools you can use to build this secure wall around your data. But the tech is only as good as the strategy behind it. So the real question for you is, now that you know how to build the wall, how will you decide who gets in and under what conditions? That's where the real work begins.